and that would be a big hello to the Jar of Marble dwellers. Hello, my name is Linda. This is my podcast, Jar of Marbles. I'm really glad that you're here. It's episode 2, and it's going to be very exciting. We're talking about cultivating friendships. Well, I think I get there eventually. But anyway, thanks for coming. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. It's lovely that you're here again. It's me, Linda, representing the Jar of Marbles. So this is where I can add my Jar of Marbles 2 cents and talk about all things being 60 or memories, the errors that we've had to pass through to get to this point, the utter privilege of actually have made it to this, part of life. I hope that you've had a good week. I hope that life has been good to you, and I hope that you have a few things that you would like to express or talk about or share. I was looking at some posts this week. I just thought there's so many really good posts, really things that really food for thought. Tom Hardy said, let's just say Tom Hardy didn't say this, but let's just say he did. Nothing more dangerous than a person who healed himself or herself with the help of nobody. If you can rise up from the shit they left you in, there's no motherfucker out there who can tell you shit. Speaking from experience, that's the truth. And it is actually true. We all have different experiences. We've all gone through things, and sometimes some people just go through the most unbelievably terrible, horrible things. And I think that, for myself personally, depending on where I was at various stages of my life, I sort of thought it'd be really good if I got some recognition, or at least an apology, or at least, look, this is really what happened, etc., when something has just exploded out of shape and you're the only one there standing with your undies on your head and everyone's going, it was her, and it kind of wasn't. But anyway, moving on. The thing is, 60 years old. Do you know that is 720 months, 3,130 weeks, 21,915 days, or 525,949 hours, or 31,556,952 minutes, and counting. I find that a little bit daunting when you look at it like that. But I guess, as I said in the podcast last week, I was saying about, well, let's just say if you make it to 70 and say like me, you say around 60, that kind of equates to 10 Christmases if your numbers drawn. I guess it's all coming back to this whole thing about don't worry about getting old, worry about thinking old. And I love that, because it's just, we do come from an era where 60 was it. You were basically just waiting to die. And anyone that feels differently, well, we lived in a different suburb, but so many of us, even now, it's like, well, I'm 60 now, or, you'll watch a movie and some, old man or old woman comes into the movie, and we've got a 62-year-old woman here, blah, blah, blah. And you go, oh, she looks like she's bloody 80. And the thing is, that doesn't have to be. We can still have a zest for life. Like, for example, you could say your outfit is by Christian Dior, but the body's by Lindt chocolate. It's not what you look like, it's who you are, and that emanates through. I'm hoping that I will continue to age with humour, with a dash of serenity, and to the best of my efforts, my health. That's the thing. I've always treasured my health. It's hard not to when you see people dropping like flies, or they've got these terrible conditions, and they that then becomes their calling card. Well, I have this, or I had that, and this is my medication. I want to keep on expressing my personal creativity and my own personal style, which I have noticed is starting to change. And I want to challenge the stuck way our culture looks at being old. It's just like it's just a little bit boring. And seeing as I am in that age group now, I am wanting to shake the society tree and say, well, no, I'm sorry, I just don't look at it like that. For me, personally, if you have a garden, and that might be a few pots on a porch, it might be something growing on your kitchen counter. If you have a garden and a library, that could be a stack of books and a cup of tea, you've got everything you need. I am no longer accepting the things that I cannot change. I'm changing the things that I cannot accept. And, that's not to say I haven't had moments where I've gone, ugh, what can I do at this age? I want to start a new career. Oh, but who would hire a 60-year-old? Man, we were saying that when we were 40. The thing is, the world has been shooken up and it's been spun around and it's been spat out, it's been scooped up, put back into a jar, it's been thrashed around, and it's like now they're screaming for employees, they're screaming for new people to fill the roles that people just don't want. People are changing, people have changed. And I just think there's a lot to be said about the power of women at our age, in our 60s. Now that counts you too if you're in your 40s, your 50s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 100s and beyond. But I was up jamming not so long ago, a rock and roll song with a band, and this guy came up to me and he said, oh, don't you think you're a bit too old to sing rock and roll? And I said, well, you check with Mick Jagger. I mean, why is it that, men have this whole different standard held to them for aging? When it comes to aging, we, as women, we are held to a different standard. We've got to look good and we've got to look youthful. And it's like, well, we look good and I will dare say youthful too. Why not? Why the hell not? I just think a lot of it's just words. And can I just say, while we're talking about youthful, I really love my dressing gown. I have a thing with my dressing gown. I've got different dressing gowns because it just depends on how I'm feeling. If I want a long one, medium-sized one, a summery, autumny sort of feel, or do I want that big warmy, lovely, like you feel like you've got the arms of a bear around you and it's just so lovely and cosy. And the gown is... I don't think it's given enough credit. I don't. I think, because sometimes if you're feeling cold, even if you're still dressed and you know that you're probably an hour away from having your shower, I will admit right now, I will put on my winter gown on top of my clothes. I know, it's pretty wild, isn't it? That's me, wild Linda. And if I'm feeling a bit frumpy, I'll put my gown on. I mean, I even look twice the size I was, but it doesn't matter, I feel good. If I'm a bit upset, I'm going to put my gown on. And if life is falling apart a little bit, you got it, I'm going to put my gown on. I think that there are certain aspects to life, to me, it feels like a kind of a luxury. And a saying by Gina Carey, a strong woman looks a challenge in the eye and gives it a wink. Don't you love it? It's just a far more superior way of looking at it rather than slinking off in a corner with your rollers in your hair. Not that there's anything wrong with that, because you can get lovely height to your hair, you can get a certain amount of fluffiness, and I think it's about having fun, isn't it? Like, maybe you've been a person that's never really had fun. Maybe you've been held back by, what your family dictated you should be and do and believe, etc. And then maybe you married someone who held you to that as well. And maybe you had never had a chance to turn around and go, why did you go and sling your hook, fella? How about that, eh? As a saying from Katharine Hepburn, if you obey all the rules, you miss all the fun. I mean, isn't that the truth? I've always liked having a bit of fun. Anybody that knows me knows that, I do, come up with little ideas and I do get up to a bit of naughtiness and all the rest of it. And I mean, my idea of naughtiness might not be yours, but if it gets a laugh, if it gets a bit of a chuckle, a smile, then I know that I've done well. The older I get, also I feel I value my privacy, and cultivating a circle of friends is something that I am in the process of doing. Where only a certain kind of person can sort of get in, where you can be honest. Well, I want to be honest and open and real, while understanding that not everybody deserves a seat at your table. They just don't. They don't get to have any any part of your life that is your sauce, your juice, your yumminess. Simple things like one positive thought in the morning can change your whole day. And I think we have forgotten the value of simplicity, that, by mindfully getting out of bed in the morning and saying to yourself, something great's going to happen to me today. But you just don't leave it at that and then go out and kick the cat. Don't kick cats. Cats are beautiful. I love cats. But keep on saying, have an expectation within your own mind, within your own body, that because what it does is it lifts how you feel, and then you start looking out for what could this possibility be, as opposed to living in drudgery, same old, same old. It's injecting a little bit of energy into your life in order to get a whole lot back. Now, of course, it's like putting a tomato seed in the garden and going, oh my God, there's no tomatoes the next day. As we know, anyone that does even a little bit of gardening, even if you don't garden, you've got to know that that is not how it works in the real world. But in regard to saying these positive things to yourself, with even initially it doesn't feel convincing, or you feel like you're being a bit fake, oh well, get a grip. Don't worry about it. Just be a bit of a fake for a couple of days, because I'm telling you what will happen. After a couple of days, you will feel a shift. And I'm only talking from my own experience, when I've realised I may have fallen into a bit of a hole. I'm not feeling really good about life or myself. And it's just been a number of little things that I've not been conscious about. And I've turned around and realised that I've got a little bit gloomy on myself. It's like, hop, okie, come on, we need to turn this around. It's even, you hear a lot about expressing gratitude or being grateful. It is a thing. It really is, to be grateful for everything that you actually have, as opposed to putting your focus on the things that you don't have and what you would like to happen, and will this change? Hey, it's good to question, but what about forming questions that feel good and put the fire out in your brain? Like, I wonder what wonderful things are going to happen to me today. Now, how come I get to have such a good brain where I can look outside and see the sky that's blue? That might be a little bit too simplistic for you, but you've got to start somewhere, right? In your own life, in your own mind, you're going to have an idea of what you would like to happen, because sometimes we place so much importance on the external, trying to control the external to come to you. And I don't know whether you've noticed, but it doesn't actually work. You really have to work on you, the internal, you inside your eyes. I call it your mind inside your body. I call it behind your meatballs, because I remember as a child thinking that, your eyes were these little, balls of meat, and that the soul of you looks out of those balls of meat, and you are looking out into your world. And I just love that idea. So get in behind your meatballs and get a hold of yourself, and don't be placing your importance on, well, when that person does that, or when that job comes, or when that holiday, or whatever it may be. It's it's too risky. And I'm not a gambling woman, never been interested in that. And I don't like the idea of handing over my power, my strength, who I am, over to someone else who's going to manhandle it, who is not going to respect me, because they're only out for them. And so you should be out for you, because you've got to fill your own cup, right? You've got to look after you before you can possibly look after someone else. Now, as Rumi said, wear gratitude like a cloak, and it will feed every part of your life. I love that. It's so true. It is absolutely true. And when we forget it, we start feeling the old doldrums coming in, you've got to whip out something that, I know how that sounds. Oh my God, no, I'm not talking about penises or bosoms. What I'm talking about is whipping out a saying that resonates with you. And even if it is something as simple as writing on a piece of paper a few times, cutting them out and place them in places that you'll see them, whether it be next to your toothbrush in the morning, whether it's in your toilet, on your toilet tank, when you go to flush, in the kitchen, on the fridge, in your bedroom. There are endless places. You could blue tack it on a mirror in your bathroom, where it's information that is going into your eyes, which is going into your brain, which is going into your heart, and reminding you of more uplifting thinking. I am no therapist. wouldn't want to be. I have no letters after my own name. I am merely talking about what I have done and what I do to keep myself feeling upbeat, feeling like there's something to really live for and strive for. And I feel that we in our 60s, we have gathered strength behind our years, and that myself, I own them. I've earned them. I deserve them, and I have a right to them. I have a right to my thoughts, my ideas. I have a right to my strength. Too many of us hide how strong we actually are. And look, I'm really strong. I'm as strong as an ox. And other times I'm like a little fairy in my little flower garden. But really, I've got a big heart, and I'm a strong woman, and that is nothing to be ashamed of. So here we are, power, women in their 60s. Hell, don't we at least deserve that? We should own that. As Audrey Hepburn said, the beauty of a woman is not in a facial mode, but the true beauty in a woman is reflected in her soul. And I think to have our own personal strength and empowerment is incredibly beautiful. And life looks like an eternity when you're young, doesn't it? You feel like, when you're young and you realise that, I am alive. I remember when I was 7, when I realised I was going to die one day, and I was absolutely shocked. I was lying in bed and I had my hand on my chest and I could feel my heart beating. And I remember thinking, that's going to stop beating one day. I'm going to die one day. I was most horrified. But when we're young, life seems like it's just going to go on forever. But in reality, it is a short trip. So we've got to enjoy our life. And also in our life, we've got to be kind. And know another thing that gets right up my nose about that whole saying about being kind is I have seen this with so many people I know and people I don't know, or people that I'm aware of, friends of a friends of a friend, etc., who are all advocates for kindness, but they're not actually really very kind. They're like these spiritual fakes. And I think it's really important to really have a wide berth, take a wide berth from people who profess to be your dear old friend, and yet really they're not in your life in a way that you would say is any kind of friendship. Particularly hard to swallow if you really were once great friends and you still valuing the friendship so much. And then over the years you realise they couldn't give a shit about you. And this is the whole thing about taking back our strength, taking back our power, our personalities, our hearts, and everything that we are, and for them to be bestowed on people that get it, that really care about you, are ringing you, are in touch with you, want to spend time with you, that you're not some inconvenient slot in their life, that they actually love being with you. Now, I know you're out there and I'm looking for you, and I hope you're looking for me. And as the wonderful comedian Hannah Gadsby says, there is nothing stronger than a broken woman who has rebuilt herself. Now, that saying is going around a lot at the moment, and it is talking about the power that women start recognising within themselves. And normally it's after we've been both beaten up emotionally and hopefully not physically, but we've just really put our focus in people who have not looked after us. And it comes right back down to, hey, you have to look after yourself. You've got to focus on yourself. And because we come from an era where that was deemed so selfish, it's just ridiculous. The bottom line is, it is really your duty to look after yourself, because what we focus on expands. We all know that if we've ever gone through a bit of a tough time and we're feeling really down about something and it seems to be eating us up, and I think that's a rite of passage as well, because terrible things do happen and you're not supposed to just bounce back after a couple of little positive platitudes. I'm certainly not saying that. But what we focus on does expand, and I think perception is key. Your point, your new point about you. For example, some people could be given a field of luscious roses and only see the thorns, and others could be shown a weed and only see the flower in it. So I guess what I'm saying with perception, it's what you see, it becomes your reality. And I think it's so important to care about yourself in a way that means that you're heading in some kind of happy direction. Because we always have choices, and more than ever, we at our age are living by choice, not chance, to be motivated, not manipulated. We want to be useful, not used. And choosing self-esteem and not self-pity, and choosing to listen to our inner voice and not the opinions of others. I think there's always value in asking people that we truly trust their opinions on things. But really, I think we have to be very sure about how we feel and what we want and what resonates with you, what makes sense to you. So for the person that needed to hear this today, your heart will heal, your tears will dry, and your season will change. And that is so true, isn't it? We can only see this when we're at a safe distance from something that's happened, or something that's happened over and over and over, and we've finally got it. That too is normal. But the age-old question, why do women cry when they're angry? I love this, because we realise it's not allowed to kill someone. I love that. And see, the smart ones, we realise that if we do murder the person that's annoying us, well, it's not legal. So what do? We cry. I hope that you enjoyed that just a little bit. But anyway, as Maya Angelou said, or Angelou, if you're always trying to be normal, you will never know how amazing you can be. I just think that having fun has really had bad press. And I just want to move forward. I just want to get past the lumps in the bed and get to the flat bits. Life doesn't have to be a series of annoying incidents and no real interest in our lives. Again, where's your focus? I ask myself, well, where's your focus, Linda? What are you doing? You just have to learn to forget about people who've forgotten about you. Like, why would you be constantly looking at that? Like, this is where the self-esteem comes in, self-education, self-care. And I certainly had to do that. I was uploading everything I could find on USB by thought leaders and thinkers and authors. And I was listening, because I prefer audio to reading. You may prefer to read, but I was listening to everything I could get my hands on to help me develop a better way of thinking. I realized I was stuck. And over time, I really started to feel the difference. And finally, I realized I wasn't asking for too much at all. I was just asking the wrong person or the wrong people. I like the idea of saving myself. I like stories where women actually do save themselves. And so, darling, you're a goddess. You're a badass. And you've totally got this. Here's to strong women. And to all the women here, let's support each other and just keep supporting each other. This is not a podcast that's supporting weak-kneed people who want to put shit on people and say mean things, because that's just never going to work. This is a place where we want to support each other. Men are welcome too. Please don't get that as a message where we're not interested in your opinion. We are. We're really interested in men who are kind-hearted and have broad ideas and respect for women. Just a quick word about persistence. Persisting is necessary. Persisting is so important. Why? Because that'll turn your new assumptions into your dominant beliefs, just like you did with your negative assumptions. Your negative assumptions turned into the dominant ones, and you repeated them over and over every day and every night until and unless you start having them dominantly without any efforts to think about them separately. Just like that, we need to repeat our positive and preferred thoughts over and over until they've become dominant thoughts. To persist means to hold, to stay there. When you saturate yourself with that, where you have no space for any other thought, this eventually creates a desired reality for yourself. So persistence will help you to get to consistent results. So Maya Angelou, as she said, ask for what you want and be prepared to get it. I love that. I have, as I said before, I've done a lot of work on myself, and I had to knock out some thinking that was not serving me. And then within those little thought bags, I found other things that I didn't even realise were there. And that's because I turned in. I turned in to see what was going on with me, and it wasn't sorted in an afternoon. It took time, and I'm going to be doing this for the rest of my life. That's why, one of the reasons why I'm doing this podcast. I'm looking for people that are doing the same thing. They're going, hey, hold on, I am making changes. And when you recognise that all the work you're doing on yourself is actually reaping results, that you're starting to feel better, that something isn't bothering you anymore, that thoughts of someone or people aren't bothering you anymore, that you actually have moved on, that is a win. That is a win for all of us. On that note, I'm now going to say fare thee well to thee, and I hope to hear from you soon. Say good day to the family for me. Thanks for dropping by. Bye.